There, guys, and welcome to EDH Geeks, a place where we're discussing today, right here on the channel, is the card Temple of the False God, a bad card. So, let's bring up Temple of the False God for you all.
So Temple of the False God is a card, a very simple card, that reads tap to add 2 colorless mana or 2 diamond mana. Activate this ability only if you control 5 or more lands. And that is the biggest thing that is a hindrance to this card. The thing about this card being why would this card be bad is it's not strictly a bad card, but it can be problematic. It can hurt you if you do not get to that 5 or more lands, so it can tap for mana. See, because it only has that ability to tap for any mana at all, period, when there are 5 or more other lands on the battlefield. So until you have those 5 lands, it doesn't do anything. You cannot tap it for mana. You cannot do anything with it unless you've got some other effect that can allow you to tap it for mana in another way. But without those sort of effects like Urborg or Chromatic Lantern or what have you, it will not be able to tap for mana in any other circumstance unless I don't know whether Blood Moon might get around it. I think it does. I think the other one, the new Blood Moon, Red Sun or whatever it is, Red Blood Sun or whatever it is from Ixalan, I think that also gets around it. I think if there's that 2 mana enchantment, that basically you can name a land and that specific land produces colorless mana. So if you have that enchantment and you name Temple of the False God, I believe this is from also a recent standard set. I'm not sure which one, I can't remember. But that enchantment also, I believe, would be able to allow you to use this for mana. But getting outside of the fact that there are other cards that might allow you to use this card in a different way by itself without any other effects, this can be problematic. Now, certainly there are problematic things with other cards, such as bounce lands, like returning to a land to your hand, or the sacrifice 2 mana lands. But I still think that is worth it over a card like this in certain circumstances. And I think the biggest argument for Temple of the False God is that it's good ramp for red and good ramp for white. But the thing about Temple is it only ramps you from 5 to 6, realistically. So you have to have 5 other lands. So you realistically have to have the ability to ramp very heavily to get to that 5 fairly quickly, because you do not ever want to have this thing just sitting on the battlefield, which I have seen and I've heard of quite a few times, where it just doesn't do anything for many, many turns while you scramble to try to find more lands, but continue not to hit. So it's just a fairly poor card in that regard. It's not a terrible card overall. You can certainly use it. I think some people who do use it are just on the budget end, or perhaps just newer players who have got it in the pre-con and have just picked it up and haven't really changed their mana base or whatever. But if I were somebody who's looking to make a even slight budget upgrade, even like if I was to swap this card out for another land that is basically the same price point, because Temple of the False Gods maybe 50 cents to $1, something like that, I'm not sure. But if I was to find a land for somebody, I would probably recommend the next card
And
that
so,
we'll be
Myriad Landscape
discussing, which is Myriad Landscape. Enters the battlefield tapped, and you can tap it to add a colorless or diamond mana, and then you can also pay 2 generic mana or mana of any color to sacrifice Myriad Landscape. Search your library for 2 basic land cards that share a land type, put them onto the battlefield tap, then shuffle your library. So the reasons why I'm sort of comparing these 2 cards together without going into too many other cards. Like I've mentioned Urborg, going to mention a couple other. I might mention a couple other cards here and there, but I'm trying to directly compare these 2 cards because I think a lot of people fall into the trap, which is thinking that these 2 cards are inherently the same, in a sense, because what Myriad Landscape essentially does is it provides you with 2 additional mana to your mana sources once you sacrifice it and find those 2 other basic lands. So that's essentially what it does. It adds 2 mana on this one source of card, which is essentially what Temple of the False God does. However, what Myriad Landscape does, even though it comes into the battlefield tapped, and that is a significant downside that shouldn't be underestimated, it actually has that ability at the top, below the fact that it comes in tapped, to tap to add a mana without any other restrictions. So even if you only have 1 other mana source, or maybe 2 other mana sources, or 3 other mana sources, or even whatever, less than 5, this will still tap for mana. Even if you have, a very limited amount of mana and it's all colorless, at least you will have some amount of some mana. And you will be able to eventually, hopefully, crack this thing, and then go and find more of your lands. So that ability is the best ability that you could hope for in a mono white or a mono red deck, I believe. There are some bounce lands, the Karoo cycle, and there's a red Karoo, I can't remember what its name is. And there's also another, I believe there's actually 2 in that sort of cycle. There's a Karoo cycle and another cycle. One cycle sacrifices the land and the other one bounces it to your hand. But they both just tap for a colorless and a color of the chosen color, i.e. green, red, white, blue, black, whatever. So those would be fine as well. I don't think sacrifice is the best thing sometimes, but there is recursion. It's such a thing. It exists, and I do believe that even saying that, even saying some people say, "Oh well, I don't want to sacrifice my land." Well, it's better to have 2 more lands than to have this 1 land. Plus, it only produces colorless mana. Even if you say, oh, well, I have to get 2 of the same type, well, that's not that big of a downside because, at least then you've got, you can hit your double pips on your cards. Like, if you only get 1, you're like, well, I need double black for this spell, or I need double green for this spell, or I need whatever, double blue, or whatever for this spell. It helps you find extra lands, and it just helps you find more lands that you don't have. It helps you fix your colors, and it is a colorless effect. So this can go into every deck. So that's why it's good. There are other cards that are out there, such as lands that basically have an ability like Temple of the False God, which say that you can only use this mana to do X or to do Y or to do whatever. You can only use this ability for cycling. You can only use this ability for artifacts. You can only use this ability for this. Now, if you're in a deck that actually has a large amount of effects that you can fit within that restriction that says you may only use this mana as X, or whatever it is that says, then that would be great for you as well. But you really have to build your deck around it, and I'm not going to go into the nitty-gritty of details around those cards. I'm just trying to make people think and make people go, well, I know that it has been in my deck, and I have had Temple of the False God in my deck, and a lot of times it has punished me, or I've seen it punish me sometimes, and I've seen people be punished by it sometimes. It seems like it should be good. Seems like it should be okay, but the fact that it doesn't do anything on its own, and you have to be very hard to ramp. Now, in green, it'd probably be fine, but once again, in green, you've just probably got better options. So then it's like, well, why would you play this? You would have to be in a color that doesn't ramp well, but then you're in colors that don't ramp well, and you're not going to get to that 5 or more lands very quickly or very easily. So even with the most optimized sort of colorless other ramp sources that you can put in your deck, and even putting in more lands than is necessary, you still might struggle with it. So it's just one of those things that I think a lot of people need to think about seriously, taking Temple of the False God out of their decks, because of its level of inconsistency. But that is up for you to decide. This is an opinion piece for me to, give to you and for you to think about. But we'll move on to wrap this video up.
Alright, so in summary of the video that we've been having here, in regards to Temple of the False God, is it a bad card overall? I've discussed some of the problems that I see with it, and I've tried to make some points onto why it potentially is problematic, and you potentially need to rethink having it in your deck. So, again, as I sort of said, it is up to you to decide whether you keep it in your deck. If you feel like, oh yeah, sure, I don't seem to get that punished by it that much. Oh, I got punished by it? Oh, okay, I didn't play the game. Oh, okay. That's how it went. That's how it went. It just didn't happen. Should I take this card out? Maybe. But I think some people taking out extra lands to put in more mana rocks, or to put in more flashy, cool stuff, because lands aren't that exciting in your deck. They're like, meh, I can probably play less lands. I really want to play this 7 mana bomb card that, kills everyone, or that just stomps everyone, or that just is really cool and has great effect and whatever, blah, blah, blah. But if you don't have the lands to get to cast that spell, well, you just have this big bomb card that you're sitting in your hand going, oh, well, I'm sad, because I can't play this because I took out a land that I could use to actually cast this card. So you know, there's that whole argument of just like playing extra lands. But I think if you're in a monocolor or even two color deck, you need to consider other options. There are other good options, like I said, and you just need to look at budget options that would be helpful to you. It depends on what color your commander is in, whether if your commander is 3 colors or whatever. Even if you're running another basic land in this place, I think that's fine. Even if you are running more bounce land, I think that is fine. Even if you are running a tapped land, I think that is fine. Depending on the budget, but for some people that's not good enough, and for me it wouldn't be good enough in my deck. I've taken Temple of the False God out of all my decks. It's just not good enough in my opinion to warrant a space. But guys, if you want me to list out some other options for you guys to check out, or to have a look or anything like that, I will try to do it in the comments, and I'll try to make a video for you all. But if you really want to find other options, the best ways to go about it are on EDHREC, because that is the Commander deck building website. It is the premier source for all Magic the Gathering cards and to build Commander and EDH Commander, aka EDH decks. So if you want help to build decks, just go there. That's the place to go. Alright, well, thanks so much guys for watching, and hope to see you again soon.